CALPADS Error Resolution SCSC0681 Course Section for SSID Not Enrolled During Report Period. Okay, so the first step when troubleshooting errors in CALPADS is to consult the error list, right? You want to use this resource to reference the error, also find suggested resolution. So from left to right, you see the error number and the error name. These are used for reference. This is the information that CALPADS gives you, and you use it to identify the error description, the fields validated, and suggested resolution within the error list or within the troubleshooting section of the CALPADS user manual. The error description says a student course section record was submitted for an SSID that was not enrolled at any time during the reporting period. And to identify these students that are not enrolled, it's going to look at the student enrollment record. Enrollment start date is a field validated, as well as the student school exit date. Understand the error. The student whose student course section record was submitted does not have a student enrollment record that is effective at the school of course delivery. So the key thing here is identifying the school of course delivery. So the school of course delivery, that's your SCSC record, where you're saying the student took their curriculum, their courses, has to match the enrollment record. That's the school of attendance. All right, so that's something you have to infer. It's not explicitly said. And with practice, that becomes easier and easier. But that's what we're going to look for when we're troubleshooting this error. And the suggested resolution is quite simple. Submit a student enrollment record for the student. So in addition to the error list, there are other resources that help you troubleshoot the error. And these resources, these CALPADS resources are great because part of troubleshooting error is understanding what the expectation of data is for CALPADS. And so if you know what to submit, it's easier to identify the discrepancy or what is missing from your submission. So the CALPADS Data Guide has a course section, and in that you can see what are the requirements for submitting student course completion data. And it specifically says LEAs may submit course completion data either after the completion of official grading period in which credits are awarded or at the end of year. So the key thing here is CALPADS is saying we want course completion data for students who have completed official grading periods. And then you could see also highlighted, LEA should submit all the courses students completed during the school year. If a student goes from school to school within the school year, you want those records. And then another resource is the CALPADS FAQs. And again, it's identifying what the requirement is for course completion at the end of year. And the question is, are course completion and CTE records required for K through 8 schools? It goes on to say that no, they're not required. However, students taking CTE courses in 7th and 8th grades may need to be reported to satisfy the requirements of the Carl Perkins program. And then it specifically asks about course completion records for self-contained courses in 7th and 8th grades. And this would be true for 9 through 12 or 7 through 12. Self-contained courses should not be submitted, right? End of year is for departmentalized courses. So just understand the expectations, kind of let you know what is expected from CALPADS and assist in troubleshooting. Let's look at causes for the SCSC0681 error. All right, so you can have a student course section enrollment record submitted and posted for a student with the N470 no-show enrollment in the enrollment history. The no-show makes the enrollment invalid, right? It's really non-existent. It's a no-show. And so the student should not have any course section completion records. Or another scenario is the SENR record is missing, and this is most likely caused by a deleted record after the SCSC has posted. And so you're likely to get a GER 005. LA does not have ownership of the enrollment to make the update. Student must be enrolled at the school of attendance during the academic year specified. So this is an input error. It will reject the file. So most likely, if you are missing an enrollment record for SCSC data discrepancy or the SCSC0681 data discrepancy, the enrollment record was deleted after the fact. The GER 5 should prevent it from being submitted and posted if there's no enrollment record in the first place. So let's demonstrate the SCSC0681 error. So as you can see, we are in the CALPADS test environment, so all the data is fictitious. And we have 6 SCSC0681 errors. And you can see only 2 SSIDs, so that tells us several different course records are triggering the error. 631-600-7668, this SSID here has 4 course records, and this student here has 2. And you can always view the record from the data discrepancy screen. And when you view the record from the data discrepancy screen, you can identify the school of course delivery. So if the student has multiple enrollments in your LEA and you want to know specifically which record is triggering the error, you can identify that by looking at the record details. You can see the school of course delivery, the course section ID, the academic term code, and the local course ID. Those will help you identify the error. And we're going to right click and go to a different tab. We've already done that. So we have the student's record here. And remember, the error is triggering, the SCSC0681 error is triggering because we don't have an enrollment at the school for which we submitted student course completion records for. So here we have several different records. I'm going to filter specifically for student course section completion. And I only want this academic year. I don't have to filter because that's all I have. So here are the 4 records. So we know that the student was triggering on each of these records. And something that we can identify is we know when there's missing data in the record like this, that it's likely to cause another error, the SCSC0139 error. The SCSC0139 error. So that's unique in that these records are triggering 2 different errors, that are missing information. So let's see why it's triggered. So the school of course delivery is CSCS Training Berkeley High. And we do have an enrollment at CSCS Training Berkeley High. If we look over here, we can see that it's an N470 no-show enrollment. So this enrollment didn't exist, and this student should not have these records, and we could simply open and delete them. However, truth be told, if I am submitting course completion records from my student information system, maybe this no-show enrollment has not been updated and it needs to be. Maybe the student appeared like they were going to be a no-show, we exited them, and they did come to school. We never updated that record. I don't know the scenario. Of course, you have to know your data, but the discrepancy lies between this no-show enrollment record and the courses that have been submitted and posted. So let's look at another scenario. We have Sriracha because we like our error spicy. So we're looking at the student course section enrollment record. And again, we only want the SCSC records, student course section completion records. So we filtered for those, right? We've filtered for only student course section completion records. And we see that we have CSCS Training Berkeley High and CSCS Training Unified. So the student has 2 courses at the district and 1 at the high school. And when we look at the enrollment record, we have a single enrollment in the 24-25 year. We don't have a enrollment. School of Course Delivery, CSCS Training Berkeley Unified, School of Attendance, CSCS Training Berkeley. There is no record for CSCS Training Unified, right? There is no district level enrollment. I don't know the real life scenario in which we would find this. Perhaps there was an itinerant teacher, or this is an online course attributed to the wrong school, or perhaps the student has a secondary enrollment at the district, is taking these classes, and it wasn't reported. Either way, the discrepancy lies between the course section record and the enrollment record. And you have to know your data once again to make the appropriate corrections. Good luck in troubleshooting.